I grew up in a small, quiet town, far from the chaos of big cities. As a kid, I was always curious about how things worked. My dad, a mechanic, let me help in his shop, which sparked my interest in electronics and fixing things. After high school, I joined the Army and worked as an electrician, gaining skills I'd later rely on. While military life provided structure, I eventually wanted something different. I dreamed of owning an electronics business, but that plan got put on hold. After leaving the Army, life was tough. I returned home and took a job as a garbage collector. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. By 37, I thought my life was stable. I was married, had a daughter, and felt content. But I had no idea things were about to change drastically. One Friday, I was at my usual spot at the bar when my wife called. Her voice sounded strange, and I knew something was off. I rushed home, and it was 5:27 when I walked in. That moment marked the end of my 16-year marriage to Sarah Smith. My name is James Smith, I'm 37, and by most standards, I'm just an ordinary guy. I used to be an electrician in the Army, now I collect trash, but I always dreamed of running my own business. "Thanks for coming home early, James," Sarah said. "Laura and I need to talk." I glanced at my daughter, who looked blank, and gave her a small smile. She's always been my light. "Okay, what's going on?" I asked. "James, Laura and I are leaving," she said. "Leaving? Where to?" I asked, confused. "I'm divorcing you," she said. "You'll get the papers today, but I wanted to tell you myself." I looked between them, fear rising in my gut. "I'm sorry, James," Sarah added. I turned to my daughter. "Laura?" She looked away and the pain hit hard. "Who is he?" I asked, feeling my anger build. If they were leaving, there had to be someone else. "It's Robert Mitten, James. He's a real estate developer. He can do more for Laura than I can," she said. The mild concern I felt quickly turned into pure hatred. "You're leaving me for money?" "I may not smell great after work, but I don't carry the stench of betrayal," I said. "Laura? Nothing to say? I'm your father, for God's sake." I was hurt, angry, and lost. "So, it's about his money, huh?" "Well, money doesn't buy happiness," I said bitterly. "There's no need for sarcasm, James. I'm trying to make this easier for you," Sarah said. "Sure you are," I replied. "So, have you been sleeping with Mitten?" "James, Laura is right here," Sarah said, pointing to our daughter. I looked at Laura. "Has she?" I asked, bitter and on edge. "Huh?" my 15-year-old daughter responded. "Has your mother been sleeping with this guy?" I repeated. "James, Laura is your daughter," Sarah yelled. "And she's choosing to live with the guy who's been with you," I said, the anger boiling over. The argument escalated for several minutes until Laura ran from the room, overwhelmed by the yelling. "Fine, if that's how you want to handle this," Sarah said, giving up on trying to calm me down. She stood, gave me one final pitiful look, and left. The front door slammed behind them, and I was alone. My life had fallen apart. I walked into the living room and noticed they had already taken most of their things. There was barely anything left to remind me I had once been a family man. Now I was alone, devastated by Sarah's betrayal and Laura's acceptance of it. It hurt more than I could bear, and I swore I'd get some form of revenge, though I wasn't sure on whom. Sarah had planned everything well. Not 5 minutes after they left, I was served divorce papers. Her lawyer had likely advised her to sell the house and split the assets. We didn't have much, but what little of value we did have, Sarah had already taken. I signed the papers, relieved that at least she was paying her own legal fees, likely with her lover's help. After the house sold, I moved into a tiny studio apartment closer to work. With $11,000 left in my account and no bills, I considered making some changes. There was no alimony to pay since Sarah planned to marry Mitten as soon as the divorce was finalized. We were clearly heading in different directions. One tough day at work, my buddy Ben asked, "Want to grab a couple of beers?" "Yeah, why not?" I said. We headed to the Hop and Grape, and it was busy for a Friday. I'd spent more time moping than enjoying myself lately, but I realized it was time to move on. As the night wore on, I started feeling better. Amanda, a clerk from work, was there too. She looked great in a short gray skirt and heels. "Hey, you're single again," Amanda said, eyeing me. I looked her over, not hiding my interest. Ben smirked as if he knew something I didn't. "Well, soon. Just a couple more months." "But aren't you married?" I asked, fishing for information. Ben laughed. "I'm out of here. You two have fun," he said, as Amanda winked at him. Then he was gone without another word. "Ben's a nice guy," she said, and I nodded. "I'm not married, James. I've been divorced for 2 years." "I thought you knew. I thought everyone knew," she said, laughing. "Maybe that's why no one's asked me out." You haven't dated at all in 2 years? I asked, surprised. Nope, just hanging out here with the girls and you guys, she said. Want a drink? I'd like to be your first date. Let's have a drink and get out of here, I said. Okay, but you're not planning on anything too fast, right? She asked, looking serious. No, just don't want someone else to ask you out before me, I said, smiling. She smiled back. All right, it's a date. I'll have a white wine, she said. We sat, drank for a bit, and then got ready to leave. I need to stop by my place first to shower and change. I want to take you somewhere nicer than Max's, I said. Sure thing, sailor, she replied. She followed me home. I handed her a beer and quickly showered and changed. We took her car since my truck wasn't the best smelling. It was my first real conversation with a woman in months, and for the first time my thoughts weren't consumed with anger toward my ex-wife. Instead, I was ready to enjoy life again. We went to the Blue Bayou for some Cajun food. Amanda hesitated at first, but soon got into it. I don't eat like this every day, I laughed. I just needed something fun. I've been in a funk since they left, but you saved me tonight. Happy to help, she said. And the food's great. I love the vibe here. We talked for a while, danced a bit, and had a few too many martinis. She drove me home around 11 p.m., gave me a kiss, but didn't come in. Maybe next time, she said. Busy tomorrow night? I asked. No, she smiled. Want to go out? I'll clean my car, I said. Okay, if you're cleaning your car for me, how can I say no? Amanda and I started dating after that. Most weekends I felt like a teenager again, even making out at the movies. I quickly got back into the rhythm of dating. One night at Bob's Big Boy while eating burgers, I made a decision. Amanda, I'm quitting tomorrow, I said, surprising even myself. I'd thought about it, but hadn't made a decision until that moment. Why? What for? She asked. I've saved up some money and I'm starting my own business. Electronics repair and installation, I said. No need for a shop, just a 24-hour hotline and my tools. I can be up and running in a week. She eyed me. How will this affect us? It won't. My divorce will be finalized by the end of the week. And after that, my ex has no claim on anything I do. I've wanted to do this for years, but my wife never supported it. Ironically, she left me because of my nothing job. Now I'm free to go for it. I don't want to look back and wonder what if. The time is now. Wow, she said. Good for you. I assume you've looked into the market? Yeah, I have. There's definitely demand, especially with all the tech these days. I can handle both hardware and software. I gave my 2 weeks' notice, knowing the city could replace me easily. On my last day, Clyde, my boss, came over. Starting fresh, huh? Single again and going into business, he said. Yeah, Clyde. It would have been nice to have my family in on it. James, your daughter's waiting for you out back, he said, looking a bit awkward. I know things have been rough with her and your wife, but she seems eager to talk. Surprised, I went to see her. Laura looked pretty in her red sundress, and despite everything, I felt a bit of pride. Daddy, she cried, hugging me. Yeah, I guess I'm still that, I said. You'll always be my dad, she said. I felt awful about how we treated you, me and Mom. I couldn't bring myself to respond, still harboring anger toward her. I miss you, Dad. Can we go eat? She asked. I have plans, I said. But then I called Amanda to push back our date. Laura gave me a curious look. A friend? Let's go, I said, avoiding the question. At Denny's, we ate mostly in silence. Finally, I spoke. You look nice, Laura. Dad, I'm your daughter, not a stranger, she said. Yeah, but you're living with a stranger as his kid, I shot back. I haven't heard from you or your mom in months. How am I supposed to feel? I know. That's why I came today, to let you know that you're still my dad. My only dad, she said firmly. Really? I asked. Yes, really, she replied. What I said next might seem cold to some, but I felt it was necessary. Great, I said enthusiastically. Call your mom and let her know we'll be picking up your things tomorrow. Picking up my stuff? She asked, confused. Yeah, if you're still my girl, you'll be staying with me, right? I replied, still acting like the happy dad. Her face dropped, just as I expected. But Dad, I can't just... she began. Yeah, I figured, I said, dropping the act. So why did you come here? If you have another dad, how can you say I'm still your only one? Explain that. Daddy? That's not what I meant. She trailed off, got up, and ran out. The old hurt rushed back. I knew she cared for me, but I couldn't ignore the fact that money had made me the second-choice dad. I blamed her mother for that. I went home to get ready for my date with Amanda. I refused to let my frustration with Laura ruin my evening. I deserved some happiness, and I was determined to have it. My wife had betrayed me, but Amanda wanted me, even if my ex didn't. Tonight was the night. We had time to eat and grab drinks before the movie. I arrived early, 30 minutes ahead of schedule, and I worried she'd think I was too eager. Well, I was. I knocked, and after a moment, she opened the door a crack. "You're early," she said. "Count to 10 and then come in." I did as told, and went in, hearing her head to the back of the house. "Grab a beer from the fridge," she called. "Thanks, sorry for being early, guess I was nervous." "No worries, I'll be out in a few minutes, just relax." I sat by the window, sipping my beer, taking in the neighborhood. It was a nice place, though I knew she was paying a lot for rent. Seemed like a waste to me, but everyone values different things. "Hi," she said, walking into the room. "Hi, hope I didn't throw you off by showing up early," I said. She smiled. "Next time, just call if you're in a hurry. We can adjust." "Sounds good. I thought we could grab dinner, have a couple of drinks, then catch a movie. That work for you?" I asked. "Perfect," she replied. Dinner was great, and the port wine after was even better. We headed to the theater, a retro drive-in called The Garden. Amanda gave me a curious look as we pulled up to the booth to pay. "The Passion Pits," she said with a grin. "Feels like a teenage date." I laughed. "Exactly. I wanted to do something fun and different." "We'll see," she teased. We parked, and I hooked up the speaker. My truck was spotless, and I'd even replaced the bucket seats with a custom bench seat so we could sit close, like the old days. I leaned back, looking at her, and she smiled like a cat about to catch a canary. Me. But my mind was on something else entirely. "Are you comfortable with me?" I asked, stumbling over my words. "I just want you to feel at ease." Instead of replying, Amanda slid closer, cupped my face, and kissed me gently. The car windows fogged up as things got more heated. "You're so beautiful, Amanda," I said, kissing her again as we explored each other. When I paused, she opened her eyes. "Having second thoughts?" she teased. "No, just thinking about seconds," I joked, proud of myself. She kissed me again, and I pushed things a little further before pulling back. "Amanda, I'm sorry." She stopped me with another kiss, and soon we were fully wrapped up in each other. The next morning, I woke up to loud knocking on my door. It was just after 8 a.m., and I was still in last night's clothes. Groggy, I opened the door to see Sarah. "You prick," she spat. "Did you have to destroy her?" "Who?" I asked, confused, until I realized she meant Laura. Sarah barged in, heading for the patio. I must have looked terrible, but I shot back. "You should have called. I wasn't ready for visitors." "We were married for 16 years, she snapped. "Yeah, and I guess I never really knew you," I said. She gathered herself. "Laura came to you yesterday to fix things, and you blew her off." "No, she came to ease her guilt," I replied. "She wanted me to feel better about her abandoning me, just like you did. When I said I was happy she considered me her dad and that she could come home, she ran off. She wanted me to be okay with it, but I never will be, not with her or with you." "We're not done," Sarah said. "You need to listen." I sat on the couch, bracing for a lecture. "James, I know I hurt you," she said. "I didn't know how to make it easier. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Laura needs you." I stayed silent. "Are you going to say anything?" she asked, frustrated. "No, but if Laura wants to come back, fine. But I won't play second fiddle to your new guy. I hope that's clear." "You're not second fiddle. She loves you. And Robert isn't a bad guy," she said. "She loves me, but not more than his money. And yes, Robert is an a-hole, just like you." "You're so stubborn." "Yep. I'm not here to soothe either of your consciences. I'm her dad or I'm not. Looks like she's chosen. Now, go live your life." "James, Just get out, Sarah. We're done here," I said. I headed to the loft of my studio to clean up and grab something to eat. Sarah just watched me go. I heard the front door open and close. She was gone again. I didn't feel great about how things went with Sarah, but I wasn't going to let them make me the bad guy. They had to carry the weight of their choices, and if that made them uncomfortable, too bad. I'd been uncomfortable for months. I planned to spend the rest of the day relaxing by the little fountain I'd set up on the balcony. But my day was interrupted by another visitor, Robert Mitten. "You know who I am, right?" Robert asked, walking past me and out onto my patio. "Yeah, you're the a-hole. I saw you in court. What do you want?" I asked, not hiding my irritation. "We fell in love, James. It happens. Why are you making things hard for the girls?" "Are you that selfish?" he replied, his tone almost condescending. "Selfish for wanting my family? Screw you." Now, anything else before I throw you out? I said, holding back my anger. Just this. Laura needs you, Robert said, stopping to face me. She likes me, but she loves you. Cut her some slack. She can move back with me anytime, I shot back. You know Sarah and I are getting married, right? He added casually. I figured, I muttered. In case you were wondering, I'm not trying to adopt Laura, Robert continued. She wants you to know she's still your daughter. She just wants to live with her mom. Her mom's unfaithful, so no, she shouldn't be with her, I replied sharply. You really are a stubborn son of a witch, Robert muttered before leaving. As he walked away, I had the sense that things weren't going as smoothly in Robert's world as he pretended. Too bad. I called Amanda. I needed some company. Meanwhile, over at Robert's house, he and Sarah sat by the pool. What did he say? Sarah asked, looking at him anxiously. You don't want to know, but he thinks you're an unfit mother, Robert replied. Do you think we can get him and Laura talking again? Sarah asked hopefully. He's not budging, Robert sighed. He's hurt and not getting over it. He hates me, and probably you too. Laura's running out of chances with him. He thinks nobody cares about him, and he's bitter. With our wedding in 2 weeks and Laura as maid of honor, it'll just be another slap in the face for him, Sarah said, frowning. I don't know what to do, Sarah sighed again. I never meant to hurt him. Falling in love with you wasn't planned. Me either, Robert agreed, taking her hand. I tried to explain that, but he wasn't listening. Honestly, I can't blame him. Losing you would destroy me too. She hugged him, both of them with tears in their eyes. We'll figure something out, Sarah said softly. You know what he needs? Another woman, if he... Don't go there, Sarah, Robert cut her off. That's something he has to figure out on his own. What if? Robert began hesitantly. Laura stayed with him part-time, like shared custody? I don't know, Sarah replied, uncertain. Laura prefers it here. She misses her dad, but chose to live with me. She thought she could visit him often, but none of us expected James to be this bitter. I'll ask her, but James would need to agree, and he's not communicating right now, Sarah said, shaking her head. From nearby, Laura chimed in, No, Mom, that won't work. For Dad, it's all or nothing. He hates Robert. I don't know how to fix things with him. Her mother nodded. You're right. I'm proud of you, Laura. I didn't handle things well with your dad, and cheating on him was the worst mistake. He'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve it. But I hope you two can reconcile someday. He's a good man, just hurt. Meanwhile, I spread the word through my old Army buddies that I was starting my business. By the end of the first week, I had a few small jobs lined up. Nothing big, but enough to get started. I focused on quality work, good materials, and quick turnaround times. Amanda offered to help schedule appointments, so I set up 2 phone lines and some software to manage everything. Business was slow but steady in the first couple of months. Then I caught a break. A private investigator named Lionel Tandy, recommended by my old Army buddy Jerry, needed help with his surveillance equipment. He had a lot of business, and soon he was sending clients my way. By the end of the first year, my income had doubled. By the second year, it had quadrupled. I was making 4 times what I earned as a trash collector. Life was good and getting better. Things were going well, except I hadn't heard from my former family in over 2 years. I'd asked Amanda to move in, and though she initially refused, worried I hadn't fully dealt with my wife and daughter's betrayal, she eventually reconsidered. Maybe I didn't seem as down anymore, probably because I was so busy. Plus, moving in together meant she no longer had to worry about rent. We were a good team, and now we were sharing a bed. I knew my ex-wife, Sarah, and Robert had married shortly after our last conversation, with Laura as the maid of honor. That stung, but it wasn't surprising. As for marriage with Amanda? Not yet. I was still cautious even after 2 years. Amanda had hesitated about moving in, and I couldn't blame her. Other than hearing about the wedding through mutual friends, I hadn't had any contact with my ex-family. I doubted they even knew I'd switched careers, but I was wrong. Amanda and I had rented a small office a mile from my old studio apartment where we still lived. The office wasn't fancy, just functional, but that didn't stop my now 17-year-old daughter Laura from finding me. At first I didn't recognize her. She had matured a lot since that day she'd run out of the restaurant. "Hello, Dad," she said, her tone slightly condescending. "Laura, nice to see you. You've grown up. Would have liked to be there," I said with a smile. "You could have been," she replied. "No, I don't share my children. They're either mine or they're not." "And I wasn't," she said sharply. "What brings you here?" "Heard you quit being a garbage man," she said, glancing around. This place is kind of small, no customers. A few, I replied. I eat regularly. Now, why are you here? Did you come just to insult me, or hasn't your mother done enough of that? She winced, finally showing some reaction. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Did it sound that way? Yes. Well, I'm sorry. I came to see how you were doing. I hope you're okay, she said, sounding more sincere. I believed her, but it didn't change much. Well, thanks, I guess. How are you doing? You're 17 now, right? I asked. Did that a-hole buy you a new car yet? Dad, please stop calling him that. He's not a bad guy. And yes, that's my car out front, she replied. No, he'll always be an a-hole to me. I think I mentioned that last time you visited. I glanced out the window. Nice car. Looks like you and your mom did well trading up. I turned back to her. So, did you come to check in or just rub it in? No, I didn't mean it like that, she said, looking uncomfortable. Right, well, tell your mom she did a great job raising you just like her. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm busy. Dad, that's uncalled for, she said, visibly frustrated. By the way, what do you call the a-hole at home? I asked. Dad? She nearly screamed. Do you call him Dad? I asked, grinning. No, I mean... She paused, taking a breath. Will you stop calling him an a-hole, please? No, anyway, a while back, your mom and Robert... So you call him Robert? I interrupted. Yes, Robert, she confirmed. They were going to ask if I could split time between you and them. This posed a dilemma for me. Sarah, despite everything, had the right to have Laura part-time. How would you have felt about that? I asked. I would have considered it, she admitted. Me too, I replied. But you'd have to leave all the fancy stuff at his place. Would you have been okay with that? Why are you so mean? She said, her voice breaking. I've never insulted you. Neither Robert nor Mom has either. But you always call him names and set ridiculous rules. Yeah, but I'm not wrecking his family, am I? I shot back. Don't come back, Laura. You're not part of my life anymore. You're just flaunting his stuff in my face. Stay where you belong. Now please leave. I have work to do if I'm ever going to make enough to compete with the a-hole. I turned away, pretending to focus on paperwork. Dad, you're cruel, she screamed as she stormed out. She was probably right, but I didn't care at that moment. Later, Amanda and I sat down, and she, as usual, was calm but curious. So, what's your plan? She asked. I don't know. I refuse to play second fiddle. I demand to be the only one. That's the gist of it. Divorce often means kids split time between parents, Amanda pointed out. Yeah, I could have lived with that. But they only offered me occasional visits if I behaved. That wasn't going to work. Maybe cutting her off completely wasn't the best move, Amanda said. But I get why you're hurt. I think they do too. A month later, I was sitting with Amanda at a back booth when my best customer, Lionel Tandy, stopped by. Mr. Tandy, I said. Good to see you. James, how are you? Mind if I join you? He asked. Of course not, I replied. You look great tonight, Amanda, Lionel said, smiling warmly. Thanks, Lionel, Amanda replied. I'm glad you took my advice and expanded your business, Lionel said. Yeah, me too, I said. I had to hire a bunch of young techies to handle the demand. Some not even 18, but they're good with hardware, software, and electricals. Business is booming. And that benefits me too. My clients love the work you do, Lionel added with a grin. You know, James, the best revenge is success. Sooner or later, your ex will realize she made a huge mistake. Maybe, I sighed, but it's been almost 3 years. Amanda's agreed to marry me, and I'm trying to put all that behind me. The hurt's still there, but it's less with her by my side. Amanda squeezed my thigh, and I smiled at her. We chatted for a bit, but soon had to wrap things up. Despite the rare visits from my ex-family, I always ended up feeling uneasy afterward. It seemed like they just couldn't leave me alone. Later, Sarah showed up, looking frustrated. Hello, Sarah, I said, already feeling tired. Hello, James. Laura told me she visited you. I didn't know, or I'd have had her call first, she said. How'd you find me? Is this some kind of coincidence? I asked. I know your usual spots. This was the first one I tried. No girlfriend today? She asked. What do you want, Sarah? My love life isn't your business, I replied. You're right, she admitted. I just want you and Laura to talk civilly again. She cries sometimes, James. She loves you. She's just a kid and doesn't understand everything. Adults don't understand much better, I said. She giggled. Maybe. Can I buy you a drink? I nodded. Why not? I signaled for 2 beers. You know my rules, Sarah. If Laura wants back in my life, she needs to choose me over him. I deserve time with my daughter, too. Yes, but I had no choice in what happened. Why should I agree to anything now? I asked. You and your a-hole are still making the rules. Are things not so great between you two? You need me to smooth things over with our kid? She looked at me, frustration etched on her face. Laura needs her father. That's the only reason I'm here. I'm not here to discuss my relationship with my husband, Sarah said. Why can't you believe that? Did I hurt you that much? I don't believe you, Sarah, because you are a liar and a cheat. And yes, you hurt me that much, especially by not letting me have a say in Laura's future, I replied. I'm really sorry for hurting you, James. I mean that. I've lost sleep over it. But once I decided to leave, I thought if I tried to soften the blow, we'd just keep going in circles. I figured it would be better to make a clean break. I thought it would cause less pain in the long run than dragging it out. I guess I was wrong. As for Laura, she was scared. Would you really disown her? But she was even more scared about me. Well, leaving for another man. So, I told her she had to choose who to live with, but could visit the other as much as she wanted. Neither of us expected your reaction when she picked me. I still can't wrap my head around that, Sarah explained. Wrap your head around it? I repeated. Did you really think I'd be okay with what you did to me? And to her? You left me alone with nothing and no one. I was furious. The nerve. I couldn't even find the words to express my feelings to this woman. James, I'm sorry. I messed up, okay? I didn't realize. I tried to do things right and minimize the hurt, but I guess I failed. I don't know what to do anymore, James. I just want us to be friends. Or at least on speaking terms. Most of all, I want you and our daughter to get past all the bad stuff and reconnect, she pleaded. The condition is she has to leave you and that guy, along with all that money you're so proud of. And I'll welcome my daughter back with open arms. There's no other way, not after what you did to me. Cheating on me, I said, my anger rising again. Wrap your head around that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to finish my beer in peace. Buying it, by the way, is the nicest thing you've done for me in ages. She stood to leave. I think she was starting to tear up, but maybe not. Okay, James, the door's always open. And if you ever decide to walk through it, but I guess this will be the last you hear from me unless you do, she said. And then she left. I gave her a half-hearted wave and turned back to my beer. I needed at least a couple more. My stomach was in knots, and I wasn't sure why. She kept her word. 3 years passed before we saw each other again, and when we did, it was a shock to both of us. There are cartoons, sitcoms, and stand-up specials. You watch them expecting to laugh, but sometimes the funniest shows are the financial news channels where you don't expect comedy. For me? Oh yeah. Watching the ultra-wealthy and the pundits who coddle them panic as their millions disappear into the mess they created with their idiotic speculations. It's not just entertaining, it's hilarious. This recession is something else. Seeing these Wall Street fat cats suffer is oddly satisfying for those of us who get our hands dirty to make a living. It's always been that way. What does any of this have to do with anything? Well, I'm one of those people who has to get his hands dirty to earn a living. The good news is I'm doing really well and I'm smiling more than ever. My accountant, yes, Amanda insisted I hire one, says I'm worth over $7 million now. I own and run 14 small stores in the southern part of the state, including the one I work at. My staff, mostly high school and college kids doing hardware repairs, are all making decent money. Minimum wage plus commission. Amanda and I should mention we're married now, are coming up on our 3rd anniversary. No kids yet, but we're thinking about it. We're at Fish on Fire tonight, and she's in the restroom. She said she had to go before telling me something. No, it's not a request for a divorce. We're really happy, busy, and excited for a long life together. There you are, honey. I thought you'd fallen in. I joked when she returned. Very funny, sweetheart, she replied, but I could tell she was anxious. I need help. Help? I asked. At home. I'm working almost as much as you are, James. Most of it's on the computer, but I'm on there so much that I need help with the house, cleaning and stuff, she explained. Not a live-in, I hope, I said. No, just someone to come a couple of times a week for the heavy stuff. What do you think? Well, you knew it was always going to be your decision, but it's nice you're giving me the illusion of a say in it. I laughed. You do have a say, love. It's not just an illusion. The Grossmans have been using a service they trust, and they say they're good. And yes, you really do have a say in this. I love you, you know. She smiled. Yeah, right. Call Henry or Meg tomorrow and set it up if you haven't already. Since it's not a live-in situation, it's fine with me. We talked, danced, had a bit too much to drink, and went home. We did things that would have been mortal sins if we weren't married. God, I love this woman. I got home late the next day, and the scene I walked into was, well, strange. No melancholy, no strange. Amanda, I called. She hadn't looked this nervous or upset since our wedding day. James, something really weird, unusual happened. You need to stay calm, okay? She said. You cheated on me? I joked, knowing full well she hadn't. She's too smart for that. No, but you still need to stay calm, okay? She replied. Of course, whatever you say. You remember last week we talked about hiring someone to help with the housework a couple of days a week? Cleaning, ironing, laundry, that sort of thing? She asked. Yeah, I remember, I said, still grinning. Just get to the point. You hired someone? She paced a bit before speaking again. Yes, well, okay. Follow me to the den. I followed her, and then I saw them. Sarah, Laura. What the hell? I said, stunned. You promised to stay calm, James, Amanda reminded me, giving me a look. I looked from her to my ex and then to my daughter, who I hadn't seen in 3 years. Laura was all grown up now, and she was stunning. These are our cleaning ladies, Amanda said. Excuse me? I heard her, but I still wasn't processing it. They've hit hard times, James. I called the service, and Sarah and Laura were the ones sent. They had no idea this was our house. Believe me, when they showed up, I was just as shocked as you are. So were they. Needless to say, none of us got much work done today, she explained. Hard times, huh? I said. It was the stock market, James, Sarah chimed in. We lost everything. But at least Laura and I have good jobs now. It's humiliating being here, but we're managing. They wanted to leave as soon as they realized what was happening, Amanda added. But I convinced them to stay and wait for you. Otherwise, it would have just turned into a long, drawn-out ordeal with you trying to track them down and them avoiding you. You understand what I mean, right? You did the right thing, Amanda, I said, turning to Sarah. So, did he kick you out? Must have been tough on him, huh, being poor? Maybe having to get a job with you two footing the bill? I think this was a mistake, Sarah said, starting to stand. We'll go now, Amanda. Thanks for lunch and for trying. She pulled Laura up, who, by the way, hadn't said a word, only sniffling behind her handkerchief. No, I'm being the idiot here, I admitted. Please, stay. So you can mock us? Sarah shot back. Daddy, Laura finally spoke, though she didn't finish her sentence. I looked at her, realizing she must be about 20 now. Laura, Sarah, please sit down, I said, collecting myself. It's all so crazy. Everything that happened before, and now this. I gestured at the situation. So, what exactly happened? The market tanked, and we lost everything. It's that simple. We thought about you and what we did, but knowing what you thought of me, Sarah trailed off. And Robert? I asked, biting my lip. Where is he? He divorced me to protect me from the legal and financial fallout of the crash, she answered. Wait, what? He divorced you? Why? To protect me and Laura. It's all legal jargon, but he didn't want the financial mess to affect us. So he filed for divorce, even though it wasn't a real breakup, Sarah explained. Not a real breakup, I questioned. I'm confused, Amanda chimed in. Robert may not be a bad guy after all, Amanda said. Yes, he cheated with Sarah, and we all agree they should be punished for that. But they fell in love. It happens. They hurt you, and now the market has hurt them. They realize how complicated and, well, messy this all is. Amanda was saving the situation, and I was ready to let her. She always saved me. James, Sarah continued, Robert is suffering. He lost everything, house, cars, bank accounts. He's practically homeless. But a friend of his owns a cleaning business, Century Maid Service, and got me a job. Laura helps me. We're a team. My ex smiled, and I think it was pride. Laura, you help your mom with all this? I asked. She nodded. Yes, Daddy. Where are you staying? I asked. They have a small apartment in the Rushmore district, Amanda interjected. Rushmore? That's a pretty rough area, isn't it? I asked. I knew it was. Yeah, it is, Amanda confirmed. It's not so bad, Sarah said. It's warm, cozy, and we're managing. Look, James, we didn't come here asking for help. We didn't even know this was your house. It's obvious you're doing well. I mean, just look at this place. She gestured around. I guess your business wasn't hit by the market like ours. I'm happy for you, really. We're still here because Amanda made a good point. It's better you know now rather than letting things fester. And once again, James, I'll say it. I think you should give your daughter another chance. She's missed you. Always has. Sarah finished. Mama, I know Dad's upset with me. We're not here to ask for anything. We work hard, Daddy, and we make an honest living. We're proud of that, Laura said. I looked at her skeptically. You mean like me? Even back when I was a garbage collector? Yes, like then too, she replied, glancing away. I've made my point, Daddy. I was never ashamed of what you did. I just wanted to be with Mom. I thought she needed me more. The car and everything else, they were just extras. That stuff wasn't the big deal you thought it was, Laura explained. And your relationship with Robert? I asked. It still bothered me that she had chosen him over me. But maybe I misunderstood. I wasn't sure I'd be speaking to my wife by the end of the day. I had long realized her thinking was usually spot on. He's a nice guy, Dad. He doesn't yell like you. He treats us well, Dad. He's not an idiot. Please understand that. He's not my dad, and he never will be, but he's a decent person, a good man. But you're my dad, and I'll never abandon you, Laura said. I felt conflicted. Logically, what she said and what Amanda and Sarah had said wasn't far from the truth, but I was still deeply hurt by the betrayal of a cheating wife. Even 5 years later, I could still seek revenge if I wanted. I remembered what Lionel once told me. The best revenge is success. Sarah, Laura, I'm not going to pretend I'm okay with what happened. Sarah, you cheating on me, and Laura, you choosing Robert over your dad, it hurt back then, and it still does. A lot. But it's in the past. I got lucky. I found Amanda. Or maybe she found me, I'm not sure. I'm happy. Scarred inside, but happy with how things turned out for me. That said, is the cleaning service you work for big? I asked. Yes, I think so, Sarah replied. There are a lot of women working for it. The pay's decent. We get 25% commission, but we have to buy our own health insurance and stuff. We're making it work. I glanced at Amanda. Her eyes lit up, knowing what I was thinking. Sarah, here's the deal. I think I can help you if you're interested. You might be doing okay, but you're living in Rushmore. Laura is my daughter. You were once the love of my life, and I still have a place for you in my heart. God help me. Anyway, go home tonight. I need to talk to Amanda. We'll call you tomorrow. Did you make a sale? I asked. No, not yet, but we're planning to next month. She handed me a business card with her employer's office number. Amanda already had it, but I took it anyway. They left, and Laura came running back to give me a kiss on the cheek before hurrying out. After they were gone, I turned to Amanda. Well, I asked. Buy the business, she said. I know you're thinking about it. It looks like a solid investment. Amanda, she said hesitantly. Yes? I paid them for the week, James. They're getting by, but just barely. I know you noticed, Amanda said. I nodded. I was glad she'd paid them, but I didn't want them thinking I was into giving handouts. I wondered if they had planned to come back and clean. Amanda called them the next day, set up a cleaning schedule, and even lined up a couple of high-end clients for them. They were grateful. They returned that Thursday and did a great job. My clothes were pressed perfectly. I wondered if it was Sarah or Laura who did it, but I didn't ask. 4 weeks after that strange first meeting, Amanda called me at work to tell me everything had gone through as planned. She had arranged a dinner for the 4 of us at Sammy's. Thanks for inviting us, Amanda, Sarah said as she and Laura arrived. Amanda nodded toward me. You too, James. It's nice to see you again, she said. I nodded back. We talked about our day, our week, and the time since we last saw them a month ago. It was pleasant. Laura kept glancing at me throughout the evening. Amanda caught my eye, and I signaled for her to take the lead. Ladies, Amanda said, James and I have something to ask you. Is that okay? Sarah responded eagerly. Sure, what can we do? We need you to run a business for us, Amanda said seriously. I'll handle the books and appointments, but I need someone to manage daily operations. Huh? Sarah looked confused. We bought Century Maids recently, Amanda explained. James and I didn't want Laura, or you, living in poverty. This way, you'll be financially secure and independent. James? Sarah asked, surprised. It's as Amanda said, I confirmed. You and Laura can run the business. We'll take 25% for backing it, but the rest is yours. The current office manager will help you learn the ropes. No strings attached. So do you want the job? Sarah looked at Laura. What do you think? Yes, Mom. And we'll still get to see Dad and Amanda, right? Laura asked excitedly. I smiled and nodded. Thank you, Amanda. This is more than I deserve, Sarah said. It got a bit emotional, but the night ended on a positive note. Sarah knew she had made mistakes, and Laura was starting to understand what really mattered. Everyone was in a better place, except for Robert. At the bar, Robert slumped with his head in his hands. "What'll it be?" asked Mikey, the bartender. "A cup of hemlock would be nice," Robert muttered. "How about a double Jack Daniels instead?" Mikey suggested. "Sure, lay it on me," Robert said, drinking half in one gulp. A year ago, he had money and influence, but now his only comfort was booze. His family had fallen apart, and he wondered how much of it was to protect Sarah from financial ruin. Losing Sarah had been the hardest thing. He had stolen another man's wife and kid, and now he was paying the price. Mikey approached him. "Robert, it's none of my business, but I hear Sarah's doing well. When did you last talk to her?" "A couple of months ago," Robert replied. "We were seeing each other regularly, but my lawyer advised against it until I got back on my feet financially." "Well, I hear she and the girl are running a cleaning business and doing fine. I think her ex is involved too," said Mikey. Robert frowned. "No, they're just employees, not owners. And Sarah's ex wants nothing to do with them because of what we did." "Maybe, but you should give Sarah a call. Something's going on there," Mikey said. "She'd probably like to hear from you." "Yeah, maybe I will. If she's making good money, maybe she can lend me some," Robert said with a hollow laugh. Mikey smirked. "If she's running a business, maybe she'll hire you." Robert shook his head. "She's not running it. If she was, she would have told me." "Maybe," Mikey replied. Meanwhile, Sarah and Laura were cleaning for a select client, even though they managed the business. Sarah believed that staying hands-on helped the business thrive. They only spent a couple of days in the office and the rest managing their team in the field. "Mom, someone's at the door. Should I get it?" Laura asked. "No, just grab the solvent. I'll get it," Sarah said, heading to the door. To her surprise, it was Robert. "Robert, how did you know we'd be here?" "I asked Helen, your office manager." "Come in." "Is it okay for you to be here with what your lawyer said?" she asked. "I'm not sure, but I had to see you. I heard you're running the business now, but it looks like you're still working. You deserve better, Sarah." "I feel bad about everything," he said. She touched his cheek. "Don't worry. It's not your fault. Things will get better. And yes, I'm running the company now." He looked confused. "I don't get it." "Well, a few months ago, Laura and I ended up cleaning James's house. His wife made us face him. Afterward, James bought the business and gave it to me to run. I meant to tell you, but didn't know how. I thought you wouldn't understand," she explained. Robert was stunned. "He's that wealthy now?" "Yes," Sarah confirmed. Robert leaned against the wall. "It's ironic. A few years ago, I had the money and took you from him, and now it's him with the money. I guess he's getting his revenge." "Robert, we both cheated on him, but he's not seeking revenge. He's moved on emotionally," Sarah said. "How are you really doing?" she asked. "Not great. I still owe $250,000, no job, but a friend, Rigel Macri, is letting me stay with him for free," Robert admitted. At that moment, Laura appeared. "Robert, I didn't see you there. How are you?" "Good, Laura," he said, hugging her. "Maybe Daddy can help you out," Laura suggested. Robert smiled sadly. "Not likely, girl. He has every reason to hate me." Sarah looked at her daughter, then back at the man. "Robert, I'm the operations chief at the company. I can hire you. I'm sure James wouldn't stand in the way. He really has moved on from what we did to him. We might have to eat a little crow when we ask him, but we both deserve that," said Sarah. "This isn't the time to let pride get in the way. At least you'd have a solid job." "Sarah, thanks for the offer, but housework? I'd be the worst employee you ever hired," he said, laughing at the thought. But Sarah wasn't laughing. "No, not housework for you. I need a driver, someone to handle supply pickups and deliveries. It's 5 invoices a week, and it comes with the usual benefits. It might help calm down those chasing you for payments by allowing you to pay in installments. It's a start, Robert." He spread his hands in surrender. "I guess beggars can't be choosers, and it would mean I'd get to see you. I really miss you, Sarah." "I miss and love you too," Sarah said. Laura seemed disinterested. The 4 of us sat at a table on the far side of the room from the bar. Millie, the waitress, had just dropped off the drinks and moved on to another table. "Sarah, what's this about?" I asked. Sarah had called that morning asking to meet me and Amanda at the club. She said she had something important to tell me. Seeing Robert, my nemesis, sitting next to her for comfort didn't exactly put me at ease. "James, we need your help," Sarah said. I kept staring at her. "I want to hire my husband, well, my ex-husband, can I—" "What the hell? I stopped, trying to calm myself. Amanda stepped in. You mean for the cleaning service? She asked. Yes, I need a driver, and Robert desperately needs a job, Sarah explained. Robert spoke up for the first time. James, how are you? I hope well. Things are rough right now, and I wouldn't be here humbling myself like this if I had any other choice. But Sarah convinced me to ask if I could, work for you. I know I messed up in the past, but you've got some nerve, Robert. Why come to me? Don't you know anyone else from your old business connections who'd hire you? I asked. Believe me, I wish I did. I've become a bit of a pariah. I even divorced Sarah, who I love as much as you ever did, just to avoid dragging her down with me. That's the long and short of it. If you hire me, I promise I'll do a good job. Robert, we'll hire you. You can start Monday. Sarah will give you all the details, Amanda said, taking control. I looked at her, disbelief written across my face. James, you've forgiven Sarah. We're letting go of the hurt and moving on. We're taking things to the next level, Amanda said. I nodded. She was in charge. Robert looked at me but didn't have the audacity to offer a handshake. He did whisper what sounded like a sincere thank you. I nodded in acknowledgement. After the meeting, the four of us had a few drinks. Before leaving, Robert and I exchanged a few words about the market and his downfall. Sarah was grateful, but spoke mostly to Amanda. The meeting ended, and I had agreed to hire the man who had stolen my wife and daughter. It was a big deal, but little did I know it was nothing compared to what Amanda dropped on me 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, Amanda approached me with a nervous expression. James, you know your ex and I have become really good friends, right? She asked. I nodded. Yeah, I know. I'm over her now, so it's fine. Well, we've gotten pretty close, she continued, looking even more anxious. I raised an eyebrow. What's going on? I asked, still unclear on what she was trying to say. I gave them the money, Amanda blurted, as if she wanted to flee. Uh-huh, what money? Did I miss something? I asked, confused. She stayed silent for a moment. Then the phone rang. I picked it up and Amanda looked relieved by the interruption. Sarah? Yes, I'm fine. No need to thank me. I hear Robert's doing a good job. No, not that. Oh, that, I said, glaring at Amanda as if she'd just slapped me. Yeah, sure. You're welcome, I said, and hung up. I turned to Amanda, feeling like I didn't know her. I was about to tell you, she said. Are you serious? $250,000? $250,000? I yelled. They want to get remarried, but they can't with all that debt. We had the money, it's nothing to us. But it gives the mother of your child a fresh start. The money isn't going to them. It's going to the IRS and a few of Robert's old creditors. James, you would have done it yourself eventually to help Sarah out of her mess. I just made it easier for you. And really, this is your revenge. You've saved them. That's got to feel sweet, Amanda said. I sank into a chair, looking at her, then looking away before turning back to her. I smiled. You know, I hate to admit it, but I think you're right, I said, smiling like a gold medalist. I glanced at the clock. It was 5:27 p.m. Things had come full circle.